those who have not watched last week's episode, make sure you do. It is full of intrigue, failure, humility, and fear. Remember, we left off with the youngest son who took his inheritance and blew it on prodigal / wasteful living. Now he's stuck in a famine-torn country with nothing but the scraps of clothes on his back. Let's see what happens. But first, let's welcome these guests back. First, we have Prodigal, the youngest son here. And then we have the older son, who ostentatiously named himself Elder. And then we have the father, wise and forgiving. So, Prodigal, we had just been sharing about your journey home.
Yes, so I decided any deserved punishment is far better than, eating with pigs. So I decided to go home.
And how did your father respond?
Well, never in any way that I could ever have imagined. He completely forgave me.
Oh, no lecture or punishment, just forgiveness?
Yes, well, after everything settled down and we talked about my journey and what I learned and the mistakes I made and the consequences, when I first came home, he embraced me. I wasn't even at home yet. He barely within eyesight. And I see my father running towards me. He was sprinting towards me. And he wrapped his arms around me and he embraced me and wouldn't let me go. And, I was with pigs, so I was not smelling good or it wasn't clean, but he even wrapped his cloak around me and put on our family signet ring on my finger.
It's such a powerful image. What were you thinking in all of this?
To be honest, I wasn't. I rehearsed everything I had said, what I was going to say, and that I wasn't even worthy to be a son, and perhaps I could be a servant or something, but I couldn't even imagine such an amazing and humbling response.
And what were you thinking, Father, in all of this?
But my son was home. I'd been so torn when he left. When I heard that there was a famine sweeping through the land, I was so afraid that he was going to be lost forever. I eventually thought he was dead, but I kept hoping, wishing. And then one day I spotted him far off, and my first thought was, I was imagining things, but as I got closer, I realized it was him, and as I didn't even realize I was sprinting towards him until I wrapped my arms around him. I was so overjoyed.
Oh, well, we can't forget about you, old elder son. So what were you thinking in all of this?
Nothing. I didn't even know that he had come back. Do you want to know why?
Not really, but I'm sure you'll tell us.
Yeah, because I was working. That's why I was fulfilling my duty as a son, working in the fields, managing the property, doing all of this stuff, all while they were setting up this big old party for him.
That does seem a bit odd. So your son, younger son, your brother, took your father's money and spilled it on prodigal, wasteful things, and then comes home begging for forgiveness, and he gets thrown a party.
Yeah.
What do you got to say?
Well, it's easy. I was celebrating a lost son, dead son returned home. How could I not? It wasn't to celebrate all the wrong things he had done, but to rejoice over the fact that he'd been home. It was really meant for both of my sons.
Really?
Yes. I thought they would be excited that your brother would return home, and so I worked hard to get this party going so that when he came back we could celebrate together. Do you ever remember what I said?
Why don't you enlighten us, sir?
Well, at least my older son should at least remember the first part.
Yeah, I was coming over to work and there's music and dancing. I had to ask one of the servants what was going on.
And what did they say?
They said my brother's back and that my father killed the fattened calf for him to create this pure party. Oh, I was furious.
So, what did you do then?
Nothing. I couldn't even walk in the house. I was so angry. He wasted all that money, it ruined our name, and he comes back for forgiveness, and he gets all of this. It's just insane.
How did you, as the father, respond then?
Well, as it was getting late, I was worried about my older son and what had happened to him. So I went out and I looked, and he was sulking in the shadows. So I went up to him and asked him what was wrong, why he wasn't so overjoyed with his brother's return as I thought he would be.
Why wasn't I overjoyed? Because I was furious. You treated him like royalty. I never got anything like that. I never even got a goat killed so that we could have a party with my friends. I work hard for my family. I've done everything. I've received nothing.
That's exactly what you said before, but remember, everything I have is yours. If you wanted to invite your friends over and kill a fattened goat and have a cookout with them, that'd be great. Enjoy your friends and your family. And the house, it's yours. Everything you have is mine. We're in this together. You have everything. You get everything.
Well, what do you mean?
My son, you're the eldest. You're the one to receive the larger portion and blessing. Younger son, he wasted his inheritance on prodigal and wild living, and he just came home to ask for forgiveness and to be with us. You get that inheritance.
Yeah, I don't want all the money and land. I just want to be home with my family together. I'll work hard to serve and do whatever I need to do. I just want to be welcome home.
Can't you see that your brother has changed and how he's humbled himself?
Yes, I can see that, but it still hurts.
I understand it hurts, but don't you know I would have done the same for you? And, he's dead and now alive. He's lost and now found. I would have been overjoyed and celebrated just as much if you were in that same situation. I want everyone in our family to be with me, but it's not my choice. It's yours. You have to choose it all on your own. I do choose to be in this family, always.
Even if it means you have to call the one over there a brother?
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry for what I put you through, the humiliation and pain. I want to be better. I want to be a better brother, a son, a follower of God, but I need help and support. Will you help and support me to be that best son and brother and follower of God that I can be? I don't know. I was so upset when you left and so torn emotionally even more when you came home.
Isn't it the prophet Micah who said in chapter 6, verse 8, seek justice and love mercy and kindness and walk humbly with our God?
I believe so.
So, hasn't justice been dealt with your brother?
Yes, he's gone through a lot and definitely experienced the consequences of his actions while he was out there. He does seem to have changed his ways.
Okay, so shouldn't the next step be that you need to show some kindness and mercy and humility through God?
I suppose so.
Well, it seems like your younger brother has shared his repentance with you, so what would you have to say in response?
I get it, brother. At least I'll try to understand. I forgive you. I'm sure it was hard to come home broken and humble, and I don't even know if I could have done that. But I was just so sad and angry that you left. What you did to our father. I'm sorry. But I pushed you because I want you to be more and to do more and to be a better person. That's why I was so frustrated.
Thank you. I'm so...
It means a lot.
Wow, so touching. What are your thoughts on this, Father?
I'm just so happy that my family is back together. What more can a father ask for?
Not much, sir, not much. Well, it seems like this family is back together with this reconciliation, but there's a lot to work on. As long as they work together and love each other and support each other in the Lord, things can get better. Until next time, thank you for watching the Phil Eman Show, and have a wonderfully blessed day.
Wow, that was a crazy show. Yeah, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? I hope you guys learned a lot. We're going to talk a little bit more about it in the office. So you guys ready to teleport? Can we, like, walk instead? I hate this time teleport. Whoa! That was a pretty cool show, wasn't it, guys? Oh, yeah. Such great insights. Oh, insides. Yeah, my insides are churning. Ugh. Especially from that teleport snapping thing you did. Oh man, I shouldn't have eaten those 5 hot dogs, large Coke, half a pizza, and all that popcorn. Oh. I don't even know where you got all that food. There weren't even concession stands. Oh, a man never reveals his secrets. Well, anyhow, did you guys learn anything during this show? Like, what does prodigal mean? Oftentimes we think it means lost, but from what we saw in the show, I think it means more like wasteful. Oh, and excessive. Yes, yeah, and excessive living. Yeah, that's right. Now, my next question is, who is the prodigal son in this story? The younger son, of course. Yeah, that was even in his name. Well, yes, that is true, in part, because, I mean, that's kind of where that story leads. We see this son who goes out and lives a prodigal life and wasteful and excessive living, and so therefore he acts in a prodigal way. However, was there anyone else in this story who could be prodigal? I don't think so. Phil? No. Think about this. Was there anyone else who was living in excess, wasting things and maybe putting too much effort and time into something that was, in essence, maybe a little selfish? Oh, the older brother. Yes, explain. Yeah, the older brother, he was prideful and only thought about himself and was just upset all about everything that was happening to him, not about his father or about his younger brother. He didn't really see, he cared about his relationship with his dad, but only more in a business sense, not in a relational sense. And he lived a prideful life in excess and was wasteful in his attitude and everything. That's what it seemed like. Yes, now that the younger brother is back, we can see that the older son has some resentfulness and pride to an excess on what he's thinking about the whole situation. I mean, the reality is how often do we hide our own sin and problems and pridefulness maybe behind other people and maybe their own problems, say, well, I'm not as bad as they are, or I'm going to let them get all the punishment so that I can kind of hide over here and not get anything. The older brother probably had plenty of issues before the younger brother had even left home. Just like in our own lives, though, it wasn't addressed until it got too bad. It got worse. And how often do we have a sin or a personal issue that until it becomes so bad we can't hide it anymore, then we address it, rather than addressing it when it's small and easy to fix? And in this case, it's the same thing. He just let it fester and build in his heart until he couldn't hold it in any longer, and just it caused a bunch of problems. And so Jesus used this story to make a point. He used the younger son and the older son and the father and how they interacted to prove something, to hit a nail on a head. So what was the point that he was trying to make? Don't ask for your inheritance from your parents before they die and then go waste it on prodigal things that are absolutely pointless in life? No, well, yeah, sort of, partially. I mean, we don't want to live in a prodigal and wasteful manner. It's definitely a good lesson to learn, and maybe that is something we learn, especially as we're younger. But as we're digging deeper in here, we realize there's more to the story. There's a bigger point, but I appreciate your use of the word prodigal. Was it to teach someone a lesson? Yes, it was. Do you remember who he was trying to teach a lesson to? Oh, let's see. It was, there's the Pharisees, right? Yes, exactly. Jesus was hanging out with so-called sinners, and the Pharisees were having an issue with that. And so Jesus' response to the Pharisees was to tell 3 different stories. And in telling those stories, he was making kind of a big idea point from all 3 of those stories. So what were those stories? And maybe you can kind of figure out what the point was if you go through those stories again. Well, he started off with the lost sheep, and then the lost coin, and then the last one was the lost son. So, was he teaching us not to lose things? No, Justin, I don't think that's what it means. I think he was trying to teach the Pharisees that everyone was worth being found. You got it right on the money. Awesome. Yeah, so Jesus was kind of making that flip-flop argument that yes, things get lost, but how much better is it when those things are found? Oh yeah, right. The Pharisees were upset that the sinners were with Jesus, and Jesus was trying to teach the Pharisees that everyone should have a chance to be saved, and that really we all are sinners and we all need salvation anyways. You guys are awesome. So yes, you have these 3 different stories, and in the stories they have people that have lost things and found them. So you have the shepherd who lost his sheep but was overjoyed when he found his lost sheep. Then you have the woman who lost her coin. It was so important to her, and she searched everywhere and she found it, and she was so excited that she had found this lost coin that she told everybody. And then we have the lost son who left home and lost everything and then came back. But was everyone super excited that the son was home? Well, mostly, except for the older brother. He was a bit grumpy. Yes, he was. And so if we look at the story, who was Jesus saying the older brother was? Actually, before you answer that, let's try to figure out what each main character represented and what Jesus was trying to teach. Well, the younger son was probably the sinners of the world that the Pharisees were upset about because, they're the ones that, just like we do in general, we do our own thing and end up turning away from Jesus, but then we figure out what's more important and we come back to a relationship with Jesus, and God's there to love us and bring us back together. And then I would say that, well, the Father's probably God, since it seems like he's like our Heavenly Father who gives us many different things, and then we end up wasting it in prodigal and excessive living, but he still loves and cares for us and wants us to come back home, but it's our decision. But I don't know who the older brother would be. Yeah, you're right, Justin. That's awesome. So, Derek, who do you think the older brother was then? Satan. No. It may seem like that at times in the story, that he was so angry and evil that he could have been Satan, but the reality is in this story we could turn into that older brother if we're not careful. Was Jesus maybe saying that the older brother was the Pharisees? Yes. Remember, the Pharisees were upset that Jesus was around those who were deemed unworthy or unclean or the outcasts in society. But we also need to remember that Jesus came to save everyone. Yes, the Jews, but also the Gentiles. And he wanted to give everyone, every single person, a chance to be saved. Jesus taught this from the very beginning of his ministry, and we see that even from the beginning of the Bible, that yes, the Israelites were a chosen people, but people still had a chance from all walks of life, all cultures, to be able to come into that family and be a part of the Israeli nation if they so chose. And so we see this story and this idea from the beginning all the way into Jesus coming to earth, and all the way throughout his ministry, and we even see it in Mark 2. Because we see the Pharisees are in a similar situation, have a similar attitude that they had in this Luke story. And it says in verse 16, when the scribes who were Pharisees saw Jesus eating with the people, they asked his disciples, why does he eat with the tax collectors and sinners? And Jesus, on hearing this, said to them, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but the sinners. So the Pharisees were the healthy and righteous people? It doesn't seem accurate. Not necessarily. I mean, there was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek in his statement here. What he was trying to explain was that sick people seek help. They know they are sick, or at least for the most part, really sick people know they are sick, and they're going to go to the doctor to get help. But if there is someone that thinks they're healthy and doesn't think they need to go to the doctor, then it doesn't matter how much the doctor tells them they need to take this medicine or do this treatment or go on this diet. They are not going to do it because they are convinced that they are fine. And so Jesus is saying, I came to seek and save the lost, to seek and save those who are desiring to be saved. So if you don't think you're lost and you don't think you need to be saved and you think you're healthy, then you won't be saved because you think you're fine. You're the person that's standing in the middle of a burning house going, I'm fine, it's okay. When in reality, it's not. But it's up to them to change their mind. Well, it kind of seems like the Pharisees could be both the younger and the older brother in this story. I mean, they end up living apart from God, even though they also think that they are doing everything for God. So it's like they're doing stuff, but the relationship is not actually there. Yeah, you know what? That could quite possibly be true. I mean, in reality, we can fall into that same struggle as well. The Pharisees were thinking that they were better than the sinners because they were able to keep the commands and legalistically follow all this stuff. When in reality, in their own attitudes, they were sinning just as badly as anyone else, because sin is equal in the sight of God. That if we sin, we are separated from God. And so their pridefulness was a sin, and we're separating them from God. So we need to make sure that we don't become like that and cause our own self-righteousness and our own attitudes to become sin in our lives. I like that. Hey, Derek, I'm sorry for saying that you should eat pig food earlier. I forgive you, and I'm sorry for calling you a pig. No problemo, I forgive you too. Well, it seems like this class, and especially Dr. Phil Eamon, has seemed to help you guys reconcile, and it's awesome that you guys have worked out your differences. And guess what? We learned our word of the week already, and that we have learned that prodigal means excessive and wasteful, well, in this case, was living. But we also know, and we have learned, hopefully today, that sometimes we get sucked up in our own selfishness, and it can become prodigal. But that we should continue to look to Jesus for answers, for guidance, for patience, for love, well, the fruit of the Spirit, and everything in between. Thanks for the lesson. Yeah, thanks, teach. You are both so welcome. I am so blessed to be able to be your teacher, to be able to talk about these words of the week and to learn alongside you as we're discovering new ways to be more like Christ. And speaking of that, I have some homework for you guys. It's homework for me as well. It's to go out and live your life for Jesus. This isn't just a one-day homework or a 1 week or a 1 year homework. This is a lifetime, a lifestyle change that I'm calling you and me to be. And in living your life for Jesus, you're living your life for Jesus, so therefore you're going to be forgiving to others. You're going to show mercy to others. You're going to have the wisdom and understanding that the world is going to think differently. It's going to act differently. But that doesn't change our message and our goal to bring others to Jesus. And even though they may not understand that we can still, in everything we do, share Jesus and show his love. Thank you for watching, living, and learning what God has called you to be. Have a great week.